Hello developers, welcome back. This is the June 2026 breakdown. Xcode 27. Beta 2 introduced major new features, and even with Beta 3 already out, today we're focusing on Xcode 27, Swift 6.4, and what this means for building, testing, and shipping iOS apps. This update is not just a UI refresh. Apple rebuilt the Xcode workspace with a more customizable toolbar, improved coding agents with conversations directly inside Xcode, added a new device hub for simulators and devices, and introduced Swift 6.4 improvements, including async defer blocks, that make ownership, safety, and concurrency much clearer. This is for engineers shipping apps who need to know what to adopt, what to test, and what to hold off on right now. Let's start with the requirements. Xcode 27. Beta 2 needs macOS Tahoe 26.4 or later, so make sure your Mac is updated before installing it. After that, one of the first big changes you'll notice is the new device hub. It improves how you manage simulators and real devices, adds support for wireless network pairing, and Apple also included localized asset pack capabilities for more flexible app resources. On the performance side, Swift 6.4 is not just about new syntax. Apple improved URL handling by unifying NSURL and CFURL in Swift, giving URL parsing up to a 4x speed boost. And with new type checking optimizations, some projects can see compiler improvements of up to 30%, making day-to-day development feel smoother. Let's start with the new toolbar. In Xcode 27, Apple gives you more control over how your workspace is organized. You can customize the toolbar with the elements you actually use, place them where they fit your workflow, and drag items around to create your own layout. As you can see in the video, you just right-click the top area of Xcode and choose Customize Toolbar. From there, you can add, remove, and rearrange controls like navigation, run, stop, editor options, coding assistant, and more. Now let's talk about customization. Xcode 27 adds a new appearance section where you can personalize how the editor looks and feels. To find it, go to Xcode, then Settings, and select Appearance. The first section is Theme. Here you can adjust the foreground and background colors using simple sliders. As you move them, Xcode automatically keeps the colors readable by balancing the contrast for you. So instead of manually tweaking every single color, you can quickly create a theme that feels more personal, but still works well for coding. Next, we have fonts. This section lets you choose the font you prefer for writing code, so you can make the editor more comfortable for your own workflow. And finally, the editor section gives you extra control over how the code editor itself appears. Another important change in Xcode 27 is how you start new projects. Apple is making prototyping much faster by letting you create untitled projects with almost zero configuration. Let's create a new project and see what this looks like. Go to File, then New, and select Project. Now Xcode gives us an untitled project, which means we can start experimenting right away. This is great for quickly testing an idea, writing a small piece of code, or building a quick prototype without going through the full project setup flow. Now imagine you want to share a single Swift file with someone on your team. In Xcode 26, you usually had to use a playground or attach that file to an existing project. And in many cases, things like swiftui previews were not easy to use in isolation. With Xcode 27, that workflow feels much lighter. You can open and test standalone Swift files without extra project configuration, which makes it much faster to experiment, validate ideas, and share small examples with your team. Once the coding agent is configured in Xcode, in my case, I already have Codex set up, you can start a conversation directly inside the IDE. Xcode gives you a few default prompts to get started, but you can also ask your own questions based on the current project. For example, as you can see in the video, I can ask, what design patterns does this project use? Then the agent analyzes the codebase and gives me a contextual answer based on the actual structure of the project, not just a generic response. And the nice thing is that this is not a one-time action. You can keep the conversation going, ask follow-up questions, refine the answer, or explore different parts of the project as much as you need. Agents now handle localization by generating string catalogs and producing translations in the background without blocking your session. Now let's talk about Device Hub, because this is one of the features I really wanted to try and see in action. Device Hub gives you a unified workspace for managing physical devices and simulators from one place. You get quick actions, a cleaner device overview, and an expanded accessibility inspector, which is really useful when testing your app across different environments. As you can see in the video, the interface is very easy to understand. It shows all the available simulators and physical devices, so you can quickly choose where you want to run and test your app. One thing I noticed is that, at least for now, the app needs to be installed separately on each simulator. It does not install once across all devices automatically. So if you want to test on multiple simulators, you still need to run it on each one. But overall, I really like this feature. It makes device management feel much more organized, faster, and easier to use inside Xcode. Before we move on to Swift 6.4, there's one more Xcode feature worth showing: Grid Preview. I tested this directly in my own production iOS app, Rival Paddle, using a dedicated branch so I could experiment safely without touching the main codebase. And this is where Grid Preview became really useful. When I opened the resizable preview, it immediately exposed a critical layout issue that I probably would have missed during normal testing. The issue was related to NavigationView. The layout looked fine in one size, but when I tested it across iPhone and larger screens, the navigation behavior changed and the UI did not adapt correctly. To fix it, I had to add the right modifier so the view keeps a consistent layout across different screen sizes. That's exactly why this feature matters. Grid Preview helps you catch these problems earlier, before they reach users. The fix is simple: add .navigation view style .stack. This forces the navigation view to use a single column layout, regardless of the screen width. So if your app still uses navigation view, especially in views that run on both iPhone and larger screens, audit them now. Grid Preview makes these layout issues much easier to catch before they become real production bugs. Now for Swift 6.4. The feature set is locked, and there are 3 specific proposals every iOS engineer needs to understand. In this example, I'm showing SE-0493, which allows Swift to handle async cleanup inside a defer block. First, the function opens a fake network connection and starts downloading image data. The key part is the defer. No matter how the function exits, that cleanup code still runs at the end. So the flow is simple: open the connection, download the data, finish the function, and then close the connection safely using an async call. And honestly, I really like this improvement, because being able to use defer with async work makes cleanup code much cleaner and safer. Now let's move to SE-0519, which introduces ref and MutableRef. The idea is to make references more explicit, safer, and easier to work with in Swift. Before this, imagine I wanted to update a value inside a dictionary multiple times. Swift would need to access that dictionary entry again and again. In this example, Alice's score is looked up every time we want to change it. With MutableRef, the workflow is different. We find Alice's score once, keep a safe mutable reference to that value, and then update it directly through .value. So instead of repeatedly asking the dictionary for Alice, we hold a reference to that exact value and mutate it in place. The final result is the same, but the intent is much clearer. Find once, mutate many times. The last one in this video is SE-0528, which improves async continuations, making them safer and more performant when bridging older callback-based APIs into Swift concurrency. In this example, fetch legacy data still uses a completion handler, but fetch data wraps it with continuation, so the rest of the app can call it with async and await. If the legacy callback succeeds, the continuation returns the fetched text. If it fails, it throws the error. So instead of nesting callbacks, we get cleaner async code. Xcode 27 is a shift toward agentic workflows. Start testing on a branch now. Subscribe for more deep dives into Swift. To test Swift 6.4, ensure you're on Swiftly 1.1.2 to avoid update issues, then install the latest 6.4 snapshot toolchain. If you found this useful, subscribe and leave a comment below. I want to know which Xcode 27 feature you're testing first. And if you're building serious apps and need senior level guidance, visit tony-trejo.com and let's talk. See you in the next one.